Ryan,
Yes,
my name is still Terry. You can still call me.
you've earned it. I mean,
Oh. I wanted that, I'm that era where it's not Mrs. or Mrs. type of thing. That's,
now it's. I love it.
yeah, no. I got Deb past that. You can go beyond.
That's-
Yes, it depends on what hat she.
Yes.
Of course, she asked me to address her.
Ryan, did Kelly give you her? In the packet. I don't know if she's planning on presenting it or not.
I do right here. Oh, the American Rescue Plan?
Yeah,
Oh, that's the one.
That's what people, the slides for that. It's other presentation.
Okay, that's on the website. I could have it ready to go just.
Well.
morning, Jeff.
Hey, how are you?
You?
I'm good. What's new with you?
Nothing,
Well, that's kind of nice, isn't it?
I think.
You're not remodeling and you're not
No,
building things.
that's mostly done. Well,
Relaxed a
not
bit.
totally done, but.
Yeah, it never is totally done.
So I told my wife, when I get the last piece of base put on, I'll probably fall over dead, so I'm gonna delay that for a little while.
Yeah. I told Jerry we can put our base up now that he doesn't own a millwork business anymore.
Yeah.
Because we can get it, yeah,
That sounds about right.
yeah, pretty much. So, yeah.
Back to parades this year, so that's, it'll be nice,
Yeah.
much as I complained about them when they're going on, but
I still giggle. I think it was Pittston one year. He locked his keys in a squad in the middle of the street in Hinckley where the parade was supposed to go. So they had to run from Pine City and they had like not long to get it up there and get that car moved. So that was really fun to be able to tease him.
oh, yes, yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah, how about you guys? Anything?
We, it's good. It's good. We're buying a house. We're moving, Jerry's mom and dad built a house across the street from us
Oh.
so it was Grandma and Grandpa over here and then they dairy farmed together and his mom and dad built a house across the street. And then when they passed away, they sold it and the lady was ready to sell it and we got Jan and her two little boys are at our house. So Jan is buying our house, buying the house across the street. So, yeah, so we'll be
Things interesting.
starting to work on that. Yeah, we're supposed to close on Wednesday and, too many balls got dropped, so now we're gonna close on Friday. So we'll be sanding floors and stuff over. It'll be busy.
Sounds like we're
Yeah.
better using me.
Yeah.
Have fun with
Yeah, you just keep your remodeling. You know, and you've lived in a place for 43 years.
Ooh.
Yeah, you got a lot of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thankfully, we didn't have a basement, we don't have an attic, and we don't have closets, so we couldn't keep too much. So there was purging going on a lot, but you still have too much stuff. So
That's amazing.
I know. I'm glad I don't have to do that because he had storage.
So did that equipment all go out of there?
You know, it's supposed to have had, but it's still there. And so, I told him we're selling on the 30th and he came once and got one more. So I think it's gonna be the push. You've got 30 days or it's ours. So. Which is, you know, I don't want to do that, you know, but
One time.
I mean.
Yeah.
You know, like Jeff, he's a nice guy, but, yeah, had so many irons in there. He just.
All together or
Well, and you know,
it'll be out or
poor
whatever.
guy, he's had to build sheds and then he has to put. You know, I mean, it's been like one thing
Oh,
after
has he?
another for him, yeah. So, but yes, has to put, so he's working on that. Doesn't have enough space
Oh, really?
above and beyond and
Gotcha.
everything. So. Yeah, and I keep thinking, well, we had that space where we could keep stuff and we're not gonna have that across the street. Now it's like, what's that gonna? Important things like motorcycle.
Wow. That.
I know. That's easy. It's the camper that goes with the motorcycle and all the other stuff. But yeah, poor Jerry, he's gonna have to park outside.
Priorities.
Yeah. What's Diane doing?
All good.
Yeah. So with Willow?
Yeah.
Good.
It's to be day to day sometimes.
I know.
Having that conversation this morning.
Oh, no. That's fine. Oh, gosh.
Dealing with
Yeah. It's challenging, but she's good. She's got that good personality to do it.
yeah.
Yeah. You reach limits.
Okay, then be done. You let me. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't do that.
But now that I have your permission, I'll stay. We're good.
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
That happens every eagle. Nice.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So.
I totally get it. Yeah, I think one of the things that I know. Hey, Mark. Is,
Was reading
with the people,
here.
you know,
I thought he was.
it was, to me, it was a challenge. Even
I will.
my challenge, them smiling when they leave, you know, and I miss.
Hey, Mark, we're going. Have a seat.
Um,
That happens.
He wants to do
sometimes.
this record that supposes anything, but then they all complain that did or didn't happen. Except do the work. And she just get fixed and working, so then she feels like missing stuff. Wrong side of certain personalities and they yell at things, but then they're not. Do it,
Yeah.
and she's like, fine, I'll just say it's not my job. But you just- I'll just take
Yeah.
it.
My job is the clerk. Yep.
And then she can't do that because she wants,
Yeah.
Clicker, is your clicker, wherever you're gonna be at, left and right, tanks or slides. I'll see what, unless you want to see if it was,
Well, no, we've got a place.
just say next slide or something.
But we're supposed to do it. No, we don't have
Hold of that.
Not the flag, we don't have the holders. We get them or something with flag or.
Josh,
They're over there.
got name placards.
Oh, we gotta grab our one today. Perfect.
You know, minor trivial things, but again.
Oh,
These things would be perfect.
And she's there. And so they,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
don't
it's an
stop
open
to
door
check in.
syndrome.
I'm feeling
Going good.
I can get it done.
This other stuff. Yeah.
Job and they didn't do it. Told them to do it. Yeah, I will.
Yeah, yeah. I miss that part too. You know, I just don't get to talk to those people anymore.
I almost can't answer. Gosh. Yeah.
And who wants to stay outside? Grow up with sunscreen.
Stuff.
You just don't
Outside and then-
get right that way.
Wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
No big deal though. From what I'm hearing.
I think they got it. They got it.
Yeah, and it was better of the three options. So,
If that.
I'm glad you found it.
no, I-
Yeah, it was there.
There.
Yeah.
I joined the WebEx.
I got there about 10 and left about 3.
So then I did.
Where were you parked? I was parked right by the bathrooms, right by the event center. Oh, right in front there.
I didn't see you.
I didn't either.
There's a lot of people there,
There were a lot of people there.
a lot of cars.
That was a great show.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, we went there and then we had a birthday party we had to go to, or I don't remember. I don't know. Everything's been a blur lately.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it was a great show. That's the most cars I think I've ever seen.
But how are you?
Flames?
Okay.
Wait.
The rain will help. I know there's a lot of dust.
It's nice to see.
You go back in.
That's so much dust.
On gravel roads, we know what we're gonna be getting into, you know, and we know it'll be bumpy because you can't grade them.
Well, it's just, I moved into a residence that moved in on a beautiful.
Too lazy even to, there are,
Came from Tactile.
We leave you a mess or did you make a mess?
No, I think this thing,
I've done a couple calls. Once I,
must have been something in my,
done a couple calls on once I just moved here. We're gonna get paved.
filled my cup holder up with caramel popcorn the other day.
It'll be a long time.
Coming in for the fireworks.
Sometimes you do have to wonder, don't you?
Not this year. On your way down.
So Ryan is master control. It's like a spaceship in here.
Matt's gonna try to call in, Ryan. Yeah, he was gonna call in from where their room was, but wife got called to take another test that they decided she had to have, so. Okay, it's 9. A couple of housekeeping things here. Matt Ludwig is gonna try to join us, when he can. As many of you know, his wife has, got leukemia. They're at Rochester now doing the pre-testing, all that stuff. He'd been Wednesday. I talked to him last night about 7, and they'd been going since 6 in the morning. He thought they had this morning off for a while so he could call in from their room, but about half hour ago, they got called and she had to do another test. So he was gonna try to find a space somewhere in the clinic and dial in when he can. But this meeting is in person via WebEx, and it's live streamed on the internet. Public's invited to join the meeting in any electronic form or watch the live stream. If joining the meeting in person, the current CDC guidelines will be or be followed, which we don't have an issue with here. we are able to do this meeting this way because the governor of Minnesota has issued executive order 20-01 declaring a peacetime emergency. And, to protect us from COVID-19 on March 24th, 2020, the Pine County Board of Commissioners declared a local emergency for Pine County. So based on these conditions, the chair of the Pine County Board of Commissioners has determined that the requirements of Minnesota statute 13D.021 subdivision 1 have been met, and it may not be practical or prudent for all members of the county board to meet in person. So with that, we'll call the meeting to order and we'll rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first agenda item is a continued discussion on the Second Amendment. I feel bad because Matt was hitting us. I guess I'm trying to see if he's on there.
Yes, not yet.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
do you think you wanna try to circle back maybe?
I wonder if that's okay, if we move, the discussion of sales tax for transportation up front. Is that all right, Mark?
Fine with me. Get over it. Local option sales tax for Ryan. Usually I'm the one that doesn't know how to do technologies. So talk a little bit about the local option sales tax. Some background information. In 2008, the legislature allowed for the rural counties to impose up to a 0.5% sales tax, a $20 per motor vehicle sales tax. And at that time, a referendum at a general election was required, and it's kind of a high hurdle. So they came back in 2013 and removed that requirement and added some clarifying language. The sales tax is levied on anything that you currently pay sales tax. So implementation, county boards after a public hearing can impose the tax by resolution. So it's a simpler process now. You have to list the specific projects and the total revenue that you're gonna raise for those projects. Can also be used for transit if you were to choose to do that, but our current tax does not include transit. Timing for implementation. So you can impose the tax at any quarter throughout the year. And you just have to give the state 90 days notice. Process. The state, of course, takes their cut off the top. So every month, I think I calculated it's about 1.8% that they take, and then they release the remaining funds. It's usually twice a month to Kelly's office. Back in August of 2016, some of you on the board here approved the existing sales tax. It's a 0.5%. We did not do the $20 excise tax. So we're currently collecting a 0.5%, which began January 1, 2017. Exceeding our initial expectations. We've got about over 5 million collected so far of the original 8.4 million that we were going to raise for the current 20 projects. Last year we collected 1.4 million, so It's kind of a odd year, so I don't know if we'll continue to collect that much, but, we use $1.2 million as our baseline budget from year to year, and it's pretty safe number. Almost every month I've looked at, we're over 100,000 or well over 100,000. And so if you do the math, 100 times 12 is 1.2. So simple way to, I think, have a safe baseline. In commissioner terms, it's a 6% property tax levy. So when you set your levy for the entire county, December, add 6% to that and you get a pretty big number that you would have to increase property taxes. So when we look at our system, our goal is to resurface our roads every 20 to 25 years. Some roads are gonna fail at 15, some might go 30. We kind of figure 20 to 25 years is the sweet spot. Good news is our current funding on our state aid system, as we look out 5 to 10 years, we're gonna meet that expectation, that level of service, probably be about 22 or 23 years. Then we look at our local system. So our county roads numbered 101 to 175. We've identified 38 miles over the next 14 years that we could resurface with the local option sales tax. And of course, we wouldn't have to raise property taxes or make a bond payment to do that. So we also have several bridges that we want to get done here in the next few years. There's usually a gap in funding on bridge projects, which we filled in the past with bridge bonding dollars. And what we have going on for probably the last 5 years is a what we call budget buster bridges. So it might take $5, $10, $15 million off the top of the legislative appropriation. So when they say there's 30 million or 40 million or 50 million in the biennium, there's a lot that comes off the top as a designated to a certain bridge. And so, you get put on a waiting list, and the waiting list gets bigger every biennium, it seems like. So we'd like to be able to say to the public, this bridge needs to be replaced and this is the schedule. And so it's really hard to do that if you're just waiting maybe 3-4 years to get that funding. And so the first round of sales tax, we did put some bridges in there and it's worked very well. It's filled that gap, and we're able to keep those bridges on schedule. So when we look at our system, it's broken up into 3 categories. So 3 different funding sources are CSAH regular. So that stands for county state aid highway. Our CSAH municipal. So that's any of our state aid roads within city limits. And then our county funded system. That's the 101 to 175. And you can see we got 436 miles of pavement right now to maintain. That's about 10 miles more than we had 10 years ago. So you can see in 262 years, we'll have all our gravels paved. Getting there. But when you think about it in those terms, it's a big task. When you're looking at, in a lot of cases, it's well over $1 million a mile. Some cases we can do conversions cheaper than that, depending on if it's a local road or state aid road. So, but we got 698 miles total, and about 2/3 of that system is paved. When we look at the condition of those pavements, I like to break it out by age, the age of the pavements. I think that's something the public can relate to. If you have a 25-year shingle on your roof, you know that over time, the weather can affect that 25-year shingle, and it might last 15 or it might last 30. That's some people can relate to, or anything that you have outside that degrades due to the weather. And what happens is the bituminous in the pavement evaporates out over time, becomes more brittle, so it becomes more susceptible to the change in the weather conditions and heavier loads. And so we do have some pavement quality index information, so it's a PQI, it's called, and you get a number that's gonna be between 2.0 and 4.0. So the road might be rated at a 3.6 or 2.8. And I don't know if that really means anything to anybody. It's really hard to kind of relay that. And what you're gonna find is it generally correlates to the age of the pavement. So, you know, and I'm not talking about, sometimes when we resurface a road, we've got a couple 100 feet or 500 feet of section where the subgrade fails. And so we got dips in some of the swamps and things like that. We're really looking at the condition as far as a, 3, 4, or 5 mile stretch. So, that's what I'm talking about when I talk about the condition of the pavement. I mean, we know we got areas that maybe they fail within 5 years, and sometimes we're able to repair those. Sometimes, it's an ongoing cycle. But that's kind of why we like to use the age. Our current system, we got 82% of our pavements under 20 years. So we feel pretty good about that. If you look at the far left column, there's right now we got 23 miles, 25 years. And so we've been trying to catch up. We've done a lot of big reconstruction projects that are eating into that money, and we've gotten through those. And so next year, we're gonna be doing over 20 of those 23 miles. And I think what you'll see over time is we might have a couple miles in that over 25 year. And I think we'll be at the point where we won't have any. And we'll be able to achieve our goal if we kind of, continue on the path that we're on here. So. Look at our bridges. We've got 160 bridges that we're responsible for. There's a couple things we look at. Is that a pointer on here, Ryan? That thing? Anyway, so if you look at that column, if you can read that sufficiency rating, that's one of the things we look at on a bridge. Down at the bottom there, 100 is a bridge without really any noticeable concerns. And then when you get to 80 or under, that's when we start looking at replacement. That's when the state considers it eligible for bridge bonding money. So we assume that means that it's a bridge that should be replaced. And so as you go lower there, generally the worst condition of the bridge is as you go lower. There are some things in that rating system that can make it look worse than it is. So we look at that right now. We got 9 bridges in that category. 8 of those are scheduled in the plan in the next 5 years. And when we look at our overall system, we maybe have 1 or 2 more that are going to come on that system in the next 10 years. And so some of the guys in the office have been involved with 100 structure replacements out of 160. So over the last 30 years, we've really put an emphasis on replacing those township and county bridges. And so I feel really good about that. It does eat up money. It's but it's a 75-year project. And so when we get these out of the system, it's going to free up more money down the road to actually do some more gravel to pavement conversion, safety projects, widening projects. So we're kind of doing the hard work the last 20 years at getting there. And I think you guys can be proud of the system you have as far as bridges. Our rating, sufficiency rating average is 95. So when you look up here, County Road 1, 2 and 22 is a 94.8. And so almost all our bridges are going to be under that as far as the rating. The other thing we look at is posting. So a bridge can be posted for a couple of reasons. When we do our inspections, we look at all the different elements of the bridge, and those elements are not in the condition that they were originally designed for. And so over time, the regular heavier loads are going to degrade that bridge sooner. And so we post it. Posting doesn't mean if you're over that weight, you're going to bring the bridge down. I know it's an interesting times when a building falls down and everybody, it's kind of a wake up call in life that, structures don't just stand up by magic. There's a system involved, but we do look at these bridges very carefully. I do have the ability to close them if I really feel that there's a danger. But that's one reason the bridge gets posted. And so we have actually the Snake River Bridge in Pine City is posted for a different reason. But we have really only two bridges probably posted for that reason. And then if you look at the bottom, those 4 bridges down there are timber bridges. They're in pretty good shape, but they were designed in the 80s. And so when those were designed, they were designed for a typical semi-trailer type load. That was kind of the standard design. Well, now we have what we call a straight truck. So there's no trailer with, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9. I don't know if there's 9 axle trucks like that, but they're multi-axle trucks that are maybe 25 feet long. And it's so that whole load is at a certain position on the bridge rather than maybe staggered. And so that's kind of why those are posted. So they're not posted for semis. They're just posted for a straight truck. So concrete truck or those types of things. So it can impede commerce movement and things. And I would guess most trucks are not turning around. They're just continuing on because those bridges have been taking those loads for the last 35, 40 years. So they can handle the load, but the system that we now have views those differently. 2 of those timber bridges, so 39 and 122 are on paved roads. And so we probably will replace those at some point in the next 10 years. 104 and 105 are on lower volume gravel roads. And so they don't get traffic and they're in excellent shape, as you can see. But what happens on the paved roads is there's a little bit of flex in those bridges. And so the pavements, oftentimes we have a hard time keeping the pavements on those bridge decks. When we look at our existing sales tax that you implemented starting in 2017, we had 20 projects, like I said. 15 of those we've completed, or 2 of those last 2 are under contract for this summer. Should get done pretty soon here. So we feel real good about, we said to the public, we're gonna collect some sales tax and, but this is what we're gonna do with it. And I think we've fulfilled that promise. So it's really a good open government system of here's where the money's going and this is where it has to go. So we feel good about that. The, last 5 on there are, or what do I got, 6? No, I got 5 there. 5, we will finish those out. If you don't make any changes, we'll finish those out and the tax will end here in 2.5, 3 years and move on with life for now, I guess, so. So Transportation Committee met and I did present additional projects and timelines, proposed schedule that we could do if you choose to make some change. There's 14 years worth of projects, seems like a long time, but that's the world that I work in. We do look at long-term planning. If you do this program, your state aid roads will probably all be under a 25-year life cycle. Your local county roads, the oldest one I think will be 17 years old at the end of this program. And you might have 1 or 2 bridges on your system. So I think you'd really be leaving a legacy to the next group of board members, the public, where you can say, we've really invested in our transportation system. We're still gonna have a lot of gravel roads that people aren't happy with, of course. But I think it's something we could all be proud of. I did include a couple of exhibit A's, was in your packet, so options if you change. You could recalibrate the sales tax that the right word, Dave? You like that? Recalibrate? Trying to figure out what we'd call it. I say recalibrate. So one option would be a 7-year option. So that's about 9.2 million. So we'd take probably about the first 7 years of those projects up there. I guess the advantage there is, we could come back in 6 years and say, do we want to make changes? Do we want to extend it? Are there other things you want to put into a program? So I think there's some positives there. Or if you wanted to just dive in and say, we're going to go for it. We're going to do 14 years of collections or 14 years of projects, be over 17 million. So it's a big, I know some counties are going 20. Some counties are just like, they've got St. Louis County basically probably's got 50. They just put out a list of endless projects, so other counties are doing that. So I don't think I'd go less than 7 if you're going to make a change. We have our 5-year road program. We plan these projects together with other projects and things. And so if you go shorter than that, we already got a 5-year plan, in a couple of years we'd already have to come back and say, what do you want to do? So I think 7 years gives us a few years down the road. 14 years is, hey, everybody in the public knows what we're going to do, and they might not like that they got to wait 14 years for the road to get resurfaced, but that means the road is a lot more than the other ones. So with that, I guess, I don't know if you have questions on, I guess I kind of went through a lot of info. I thought it was good to have some refresher. If you do want to move forward, everybody kind of knows on the board now, the process, where the money would go. When in 2013, the legislature, they made some big changes. They had the wheelage tax, so those that weren't around then, and in 2014, I believe, we implemented what's called a wheelage tax. We thought we'd try that first. I didn't think the sales tax would be very popular, because it actually costs people a lot more. The wheelage tax was very unpopular. It was a $20 vehicle fee.
And that time.
And that show it up on the line item when you got your tabs renewed, and people didn't like that. So then we did that for a few years, and then we thought, well, what about the sales tax? Let's see what people think. Well, really haven't got any complaints on that. I think the big thing with that is if you don't own property here, you're non-resident, or, you're coming off the freeway, you're coming from Wisconsin to go shopping at Walmart or whatever you're doing, you're contributing to our road system. And the only other way you can get some of that money is, like you say, is through property tax increase. And so, I don't know what the percentage is, but I think it's probably a lot higher than it would be in a lot of other counties, because we do get a lot of traffic through this county, whatever it is, 30, 40,000 cars a day coming up the freeway, and we're about, midpoint. People are ready for a break when they get to Pine County. So, I think that's the big thing for the public to realize is that, we're getting outside money and taking advantage of that resource. So.
Any questions of Mark? Any thoughts?
Steve,
Yep.
maybe just a couple of overall comments to kind of put it in context. The reason this is a discussion point today or now is Mark is at the point where our current sales tax is going to expire the sooner of the collection of $8.45 million, December 31st, 2026. And so the projections are making it look like it's going to be collected by amount, maybe 2024-ish. Hard to project exactly, but sooner than 2026. So that is in Mark's planning window of, if we're going to do highway projects, he needs to know where the money is going to come from to do those plans. And so it's relevant now to be having the conversation. Do you anticipate continuing the sales tax as kind of a gateway question? Because if the answer is no, Mark has to come up with a different plan after the current one expires. And if the answer is yes, well, then he's got to get busy, because that's a lot of work to have the the process in place. The current tax or the local option sales tax allows a significant amount of flexibility for counties. So you can set the duration, you can cancel it at any time, right? So if this county board decided that in 2016, when the original one was adopted, if you don't like it, you could cancel it. I don't want to say today, yeah, I don't want to say today because you might have to have a public hearing and whatnot, but you can cancel it really anytime you decide you want to finish it. Or you can change the project list if the needs dictate that what we thought was the list 5 years ago needs to change because of existing conditions. You can come back and update the list. So you have an awful lot of flexibility. You also have the flexibility to spend it on some things other than just roads and bridges. I think some counties have explored using it for equipment, some for buildings. That has not been a direction that we have gone based on at least the previous board's direction. But that is an option as well. So I don't know.
I
Go
got
ahead,
a
Jeff.
comment, and I think that is why, like you said, we haven't got a lot of pushback on the sales tax is because we've had a real clear direction of we want to do the roads, the transit system, get these bridges taken care of, get these roads resurfaced and or surfaced, not building, like Mark said, a 20-some million shop or whatever they did up.
10 million in Carlton?
Yeah, you know, and a lot of stuff like that. And I wasn't on the board when the wheelage tax was passed, but in my line of work, everybody that I talked to was pissed off about the wheelage tax. I mean, because a lot of the people I talked to, they're paying the minimum on the tab fees. So $50 or whatever it is, and adding $10 to it is a lot of money. Where, you know, a newer vehicle that's $300-400 for tabs, what's $10, you know? So, but the sales tax, I've had a few people, just say, well, this dumb sales tax or whatever. And then you're like, well, it's going to roads. It's not going to, you know, quote, what's the big thing? Always welfare or whatever, you know, everybody's got to say. So, I mean, I think you've done a great job with it. I appreciate it. And I would like to see it. Part of that, when we did do it, we got rid of the wheelage tax. A lot of counties do both. And that was a couple of us were like, you know, if we're going to go down this option, we want to see the wheelage tax go away. Everybody always said, once you get it in there, it'll never go away. Well, that was one thing we did remove out of there. And,
I think that was a pretty, universal, discussion. I remember when we went to the sales tax is we were going to eliminate the wheelage tax.
Yeah.
I was not a sales tax advocate in the beginning. I was with Mark. I thought $10, you got two vehicles, $20 a year. People, I got beat up daily almost for a long time.
Yeah.
But, you know, and a lot of them from people that were paying $500 for a new pickup tabs and they were mad for the $10 they're paying to Pine County. I don't go figure, but anyway, so now they pay a 0.5% sales tax. And I think about this every once in a while. I went and got parts from the other day in John Deere, so I stopped at Menards and stuff in Cambridge, and I'm paying that. You're paying, no matter what direction you go, you're paying somebody for their roads. So we might as well get it from all the somebodies that.
I think except you can go up to Aiken, I think, and not pay it. So
Yeah.
they got anything up there, David? Do they?
Yeah, I don't,
Grocery store, I guess, if you.
I got
They
it.
flop that line. No, it's a little, give some heartburn to the county engineer up there, but you know, and the difference too was about $1 million a year. So we're not, you know, you're not really getting many complaints from the public. And I guess that's what's the feedback from the public? And if people, like, we responded, hey, this wheelage tax, they don't like it. And so we came up with the sales tax and seems to be some people can accept because you're paying 7.865 instead of 7.365. And unless you're a genius at math, you're not gonna notice that on any purchases that you make.
Well, and I think part of the fear was right away, you were gonna lose some business because do I drive to the next county and pay 0.5% less? Now, on the big purchases, like we opted out of the vehicle, deal because it could affect, like if you buy a vehicle, you know, a lot of times that comes down to tax is a big thing on it and, but that doesn't affect that.
Mhm.
And, there was that $20 excess fee that we could have put on like vehicles and we didn't. Just to give the dealerships a level playing ground. And then, like you said, all the other counties around have something, or city would buy something, all have it, so it doesn't affect. I think Cambridge, what was it, the dealership, the motorcycle dealership or something, he's getting ripped on it because that doesn't fall into like cars and vehicles and stuff, so he was
They pay it.
not real happy in their county over there because it is,
What about ag, like tractors, implements, you know,
I'm, as far as I know,
combine?
You don't pay sales tax on them anyway, if you're a a farmer. So there's no tax on that.
and I haven't heard, the only one I know of is Stan's Equipment in town, and I haven't heard any. He's selling more stuff than he can even keep.
Yeah, there's Jensen's up in Ascot.
Okay,
Yeah, and if you purchase something out of the county, it's where it's delivered to. So if you went to Menards and bought something, but you were having it delivered to here, we would get that tax.
That was a strange thing when it first happened because I was getting called, you know, if you went to Menards, bought a load of lumber and had it delivered to build a garage, and then you paid, Pine County got the sales tax. If you picked it up, if you took your truck and trailer to Cambridge and they loaded it up, Isani County got the sales tax. Well, at the very first, Isani County didn't have it, so you saved 0.5 cent. But you get it now.
so are we looking to move forward on this then? I mean,
Well, I think I think the mechanics of it, help me if I'm wrong, David. The mechanics of it, we need a public hearing, but we have to stop the present sales tax and reauthorize a new sales tax. Yeah,
Yeah, so today, the question is, are you interested in extending the sales tax or reauthorizing the sales tax? And I already forgot the word you used.
Recalibrate.
Calibrate.
calibrate.
And so in essence, mechanically, exactly like Steve said, we go through the process, but the resolution would terminate the existing sales tax on a day and then start the new sales tax on like the day after, the end of a quarter and the beginning of a quarter, however we time it out with the Department of Revenue. And then the new sales tax would take over going forward.
But it'd be the same amount. We can't just extend the one we have. That would be too easy, but they did it for a reason. Because they want to give some exit points. And so one exit point is you sunset it, or you say, they gave every county the option to say, we're not doing this program anymore. The real problem I see is, I don't like paying the extra 0.5 cent sales tax either. I would rather do that than pay 6% more on my property taxes to make up the difference. Because that's really what the levy, so how much levy money relief we've given ourselves.
So, and that's what I was going to say is, I know some people that they would have to sell their homes and move because they wouldn't be able to afford, you know, they're already struggling to pay their taxes. And we hear a lot of elderly people, especially that, you know, they're questioning, is there a senior citizen tax or is there any break that we can get because I can't afford this? And, you know, they've lived there forever and they have to move. So this, or the raising our levy to compensate for that, that would be hard for me to do. Other thing, is, out of all the years that I've worked for the county, one of the main concerns that you hear are our roads are blah, 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 whatever. And so to find out that the people that are coming up and driving all over their roads, because I live here and they don't, to find out that they're paying some sales tax that's going to go to fix their road, actually made them feel better. You know, I mean, it kind of compensated for the fact that, okay, we're paying this, but they're paying it too. It's not just coming out of our pockets anymore. And I like that. I like the fact that it's not just our residents, but it's everybody that's using those roads that are actually helping to pay for the road. So,
The other thing I do know is I've been on the transportation committee for a long time, and 5 years is a short planning window in the road business. Mark's probably already, I know he's probably got several examples of stuff that go out 10 or 15 years. Because you have to, the way, I mean, you can't plan stuff. Oh, next year, maybe we should do this road. No, you gotta have it in the queue a long time and ahead of time.
Yeah, last year we were doing some borings for a bridge replacement and I got a call and she says, when are you gonna do that bridge? I said, no, 3-4 years. He hung up on me. You know, yeah, I can understand the public doesn't, want to wait that long, or they see a project and think it's gonna get done, you know? So I think if you do want to move forward, you know, we could have a public hearing in August. Have plenty of time to maybe rescind the one at December 31st and we can impose the new one the first year of 2022. That's, you know, that kind of the beginning of the year is a nice transition. So.
I got a question.
Yeah,
I know part of it we talked about is a 7-year or a 14-year. Does either one of them come into play right now, or is that something we talk about later? I like the fact of giving you the longer period of time. That way you can plan it out. And I know from the years on here, a lot of stuff comes in, you know, oh, I seen this road is scheduled for 3 years and all of a sudden something comes up and it's getting done this year or next year or something, or gets pushed off.
Yeah, well, once it's in that program, we can spend money on it. And so like you say, if for some reason we get maybe some of our state aid back,
Yeah,
we're not locked in we gotta spend $1 million of that money on that project. We could maybe spend $500,000 on that project if we have some other resources, you know, and move that project up, you know, and then at the end, you might have extra money after 14 years, but that would have to be recalculated back to new projects or sit in the bank account or something. But yeah, I mean, it would give us some flexibility. We do have some projects next year that, we got the 61 bridge in Willow River that we've been waiting like 5 years for a permit, and I'm promised I'm gonna get a permit. So we're gonna put that out for bid this winter, but I gotta have some money to pay for it. And so that was one of the projects, you know, so that's kind of why I'm being picky about if we do it, then I can spend money on that project. If I can, I gotta scramble to, I don't wanna make other changes if I don't have to, you know, so.
the other thing to that is, you know, what I like about this is another board can come in and just say, we're done, you know?
yeah,
So it's not, if we do, essentially you're planning for the longevity. But if another board doesn't like it, they can, we're not locking them in with a bond or something like that, that they are stuck paying for the next 20 years or 14 years or whatever. So, that's where I was kind of leaning a little more towards a 7-year, but, I like,
Either one would be great for us, so.
I like giving your department the longevity though, to just plan out, you have it already.
Pick any year, if you go shorter than 7, it just makes it a little bit more challenging, but it isn't anything that we'd say, well, no, don't do it. And that's up to you guys, so. You could pick any year that you're comfortable with.
And that's where this doesn't scare me as much going out that far because yeah, you know, like
It's the best thing the legislature has done for county roads since I've been in engineering. It's just, I don't know who come up with it, but it's just been fantastic to be able to draw from that, and not have to come in and ask for $1 million property tax increase if you want to do a project, you know, because that's just absurd. That ain't gonna happen, you know?
Well, I am one of those people that drive down the road on our way to Menards to figure out if we're gonna go to Cambridge or Forest Lake as to who has that tax. I mean, that's me. That's,
Forest Lake, they just went to the half. They had a quarter.
Yeah.
They say they're gonna generate another $20 million.
We do a lot there. We can't hear any of you guys.
Oh,
oh,
I'm sorry.
Really close. You're facing that way and there's nothing coming out here at all.
okay.
So these microphones project into the room. And so if people move them closer, maybe that will help, because then the overhead speakers will pick it up.
The speakers coming out of the ceiling. You won't hear anything on this one.
That's too bad.
Is this better, Gussie?
Pardon?
Is this better? No? I moved the mic closer.
I asked you.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'm almost sitting on top of you guys here.
Can you hear in the back? Kinda, not so good.
Gotta yell.
You get, we'll have to issue everybody one of these when they come in.
Headsets.
Which aren't the cat's meow either.
So do we have direction then, or do you?
JJ, what do you think?
Well, as a local business owner, I haven't heard really anything of the adding that percentage. It's, what's the trade-off? A 6% increase on the levy? The last board made the move and did it. It's obviously working. I don't want my property tax going up. If everybody can hear me. Yeah, I don't want my property tax going up.
Your predecessor, JJ, I'll never forget him because Kurt
Yeah.
was very adamant about, let some of them other suckers pay for some of this instead of all of us.
Yeah, you know, the roads and, you know, with the, and I just don't even think of the roads. I think of the ditches.
Right.
In a recreational area with recreation going on, they're really wearing out our ditches. And I mean, the looks of that, the erosion, the cause, you know.
And they're supposed to be driving on the road.
Correct. You know, so, yes, I mean, but as of the years, you know, I see your point. And yeah, it's nice to be able to plan. I mean, Mark, you're moving a lot of the dirt, you're moving a lot of equipment. It's a big machine he's got moving to keep these roads nice as they are, and as good a job as they've been doing. So yeah, we have to pick a year and term of how long. And again, add what you said, it's not locking the next board in. A $30 million building up in our neighboring county, everybody in the county can't just go use that building. But everybody in the county can use these roads, the money that they're paying for. So,
We're from outside the county.
or from outside the county.
And I think we have to remember that we're one of those counties where we're gonna, you've noticed it, I'm sure already this summer. We're the recreation area for
Right.
3 million people.
Yeah.
And, some of those are the biggest complainers on our roads. But they get to help pay for it when they stop into a restaurant or something, so. I'm hearing that we probably want to move forward with the public hearing. Timing wise, probably gonna be August.
Yep, we should be able to put that together for August.
And, I tend to say go the longer period, just because the next board after me, whatever, after all of us, they can have a meeting and decide to cut it if they think they got a better plan. But it gives our highway department some real tools.
I want to say I appreciate that it's being used for roads. It's not being used for buildings. I have a hard time with that one, but with the fact that it is roads, and I really appreciate planning. So thank you very much for everything you do, Mark.
Well, I appreciate, the board's always been really supportive of our department, and we can't do it without the funding and the support of the board and administration. So, that works well. And yeah, it's not going to pay raises or anything like that, so that I really like that about it. It is very transparent. And so it's worked well so far.
Okay. Yeah, let's just take a little break here and let's ask everybody, we only have 5 people sitting out there. Let's move up here so we can hear. Everybody.
Speaking into your microphone, make it. Everything else, I got uploaded right by.
Tired.
Yeah, come forward. We don't, maybe if this, table, we don't want to take somebody else. No, yeah, just move. That's okay.
We've got the microphone cables from.
I'll go over them. That's cool.
No, I can do it. I can.
A lot easier to move.
Front table.
Okay, you'll want to lift it when it goes over those tables?
No.
That one's locked on your side down there?
Yeah.
There you
There we Oh, beautiful.
Thanks, Ryan.
I assume it's.
Yeah, Chris, I was at the.
Yeah, I would have stuck around.
I went there and then I left for Bob Jones.
Yeah. Well, I got a card. I never did. See, you say something, then we put you right in the middle.
Hey, Steve, just see, what about the transit tax? I mean, I'm not in favor of taxes.
Which resolution?
You're okay right there?
I think,
Feel free to move closer.
yeah, it's, the map probably ain't gonna come on as,
Give me a chair and sit by me.
because that's probably what they're here for. So.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering if we wanted to keep holding notes or.
Yeah, I don't. I'll flip that. Do you think you want to go back to the, get the second done then, or?
That's fine.
You want to wait for a minute?
Chairs for a minute? Can I use your chair?
Is his adjust?
You slide your.
Sit right here, Leslie.
I already got invited to this, okay?
Doggone it. I figured you'd be here so you could poke me and keep me awake.
Oh, you bet.
Leslie, if you want, you can put your stuff here and then you have more room to spread out.
Leslie, just gonna sit in there? I have no idea.
Sit right here, Leslie.
For you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I did something.
Yeah.
And then when I'll leave, so.
Rally you now.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to play on the skull.
I was enjoying not being on the camera.
You gotta stay awake.
I was aware.
That's my problem.
I am pretty tired today though, like, heck, got all of our stuff canceled up.
Yeah, it was nice that he picked that one to go down.
Good. Ain't no place.
But it's like a hard one. There's no way to leave.
Leslie will,
So.
Ellie will lead off the next portion of that. And
Actually working on Monday.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm gonna give Gussie 23 seconds to say something from our last discussion.
Quick guessing. I just wanted to say that the transit sales tax, I'm looking at, I'm not in favor of tax. I'm like Steve, I'm not, anytime you say increase my taxes, I just want to scream. But I'm looking at what's happening with electric cars and less gas tax coming and the things that we're going to suffer for it. How are we going to keep our roads? Because we're still going to have to drive. We're not gonna get on a train, not from my house, not gonna get on a bike, I'm too old. So, I am, and the fact that the county has maintained a position of using the sales tax for roads and not diverting it to trails and rails and everything that doesn't help people who live in the country. Those will never help us. So, and most of us live there. So, if I had to say I supported the tax, oh,
That's a headline.
I'm just gonna say that if this keeps our roads and bridges in shape, I mean, heaven help me, it's a good thing, but I hope I just like to see the board committed to the fact that it's gonna stay in the roads and bridges category and not be diverted. And I can see where you'd have to, at some point, maybe you got a washout and you're gonna have to throw some of that somewhere. I can see that happening. But, you know, when you make a list, I'm glad to see that there are 15 of those projects have been completed, and I thank Mark for that. And that's all I have to say. Is that 23? Well done.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
You were very concise. Thanks. Let's move on to American Rescue Plan. I think Kelly is gonna lead off. Is that right, Kelly?
Yes, I am. Can you guys
we
see
can-
my screen?
We hear you so well.
Okay, you can?
And we see your screen.
Yes.
Perfect. Sounds good. All right, so I'm gonna kick off kind of the American Rescue Plan Act discussion. A lot of it I think is gonna be review, but I think it'll be good context to just keep us all thinking the correct way. So the American Rescue Plan gave us some very broad criteria. So we've got the interim final rule that's out, and it's 43 pages of delightful reading. But in the end, it boils down to these bullet points of what you can spend the money on. So the easy one is respond to public health emergency. Okay, if you put a period there, that's easy. What public health costs do we have? But then if we keep going, it's where it gets a little mucky and where we have discussions. The second part of that bullet point is to respond to those negative economic impacts. And within that negative economic impacts, they gave us two criteria to keep in mind when we're doing that. The first one is that we need to identify the need or the negative impact of COVID-19. So that's kind of that direct tie of why did this happen because of COVID, or why was this need made because of COVID? And then the second portion of that is whatever program or service we come up with, how does it address that need or negative impact? So as we're working through programs, just if you can keep those two criteria in mind of we're talking about program, it fixes this need that was caused by COVID. The next bullet point is replace lost revenue, which at first I was kind of excited about this one in talking with like Mark, for example, with the gas tax being short, thinking we can make up some of those spots that were short. The casino aid is another place that we were very short. Unfortunately, for administrative ease, they say that we have to add in all of our revenues together and then decide if we have a loss. So once you do that, I don't know how any entity can really have much of a loss. Because yes, the casino aid, we were 50,000 short, but $50,000 in our overall revenue is, I mean, less than 1%. So we're not going to end up with a revenue loss because we have other places, for example, the sales tax that we got way ahead in revenue. So replace lost revenue, I think that's going to be a pretty moot point for most counties and larger governments. It might come into play some for some townships because you know, they just have smaller budgets or smaller revenues, and they have less diverse sources of their revenues. So you know, that might come into play for them. Investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So that's something that, you know, we don't have any water or sewer infrastructure ourselves. You know, our cities, that we've got some sewer districts within the county, those types of things. of course, the area that we're very interested in is that broadband area, which I think that's near and dear to Steve's heart and Terry's heart now. And so there's lots of discussion going on on that stuff that you guys can lead. Within that bullet point, one other segment that I don't list here is stormwater, which I think we're going to have some discussions today on that stormwater piece, because we do have some stormwater things to think about that might fit under that bullet point. And then the last one is premium pay for essential workers. So if we wanted, we could give do premium pay for our deputies or any of those employees who had to continue coming to work even during the pandemic. And you can even take it as far as the essential workers within the community. So those grocery store workers, the mailman, those types of things you could do some premium pay for. Last week I was at the Auditor Treasurer Conference, and I mean, we talked about this, and I don't know how any county is going to do this, especially with all of the stimulus money and things that have already been out there. I kind of think that this is going to be a bullet point that doesn't get a lot of money spent on it. Any questions on just kind of the general overview of the program before I continue on? All right, I'll continue on. So far.
Kelly,
Yeah.
wait. The water sewer things, and I don't know that we do, but if we had an issue with our sewer system that goes from the jail to the city, would that be covered?
You cut out a little bit, but something about from the jail to the city.
Yeah, if we had, because I know in the past they've had issues with grinder pump or whatever there, and if that needed to be replaced, because some people throw towels and stuff in there, and it plugs up the system. If that had to be re-engineered and a long-term fix, would that be something?
It would sure seem like it could fit under that sewer category, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a lift station right there that has had some difficulty. And the city and the county have had some ongoing conversations about that and whose responsibility it is. And
Yeah,
potentially-
ever since,
Yep.
since almost day one, it's been well, I think you should fix it. No, I think you should fix it. And I don't think it ever really got fixed. It gets fixed, so it works, but it's been.
But I will say it has not been an issue that's gotten to my attention in a couple of years.
Yeah,
So maybe it got fixed on its own.
okay.
All right, so we'll continue on at the June 15th board meeting. You all approved our first ARPA project. And so just as a quick review of that, which I know you're all familiar with it, but just to kind of go over it again. So that was $459,000 to Pine Tech. And so that's our money, and then Pine Tech is also putting in some of their money as well. But with that, we're getting tuition assistance for kind of that whole group of kiddos or graduating seniors that currently are not covered by Franzen, the Franzen Foundation, so that they can go to Pine Tech for their first 2 years in a technical program, with that kind of last pay, as the gap between financial aid and their bill. So that was a chunk of that money. The other chunk of that money is the Business Technical Assistance Grant. So that is working with our businesses in the community and seeing what they need. Do they need education on human resources, which is something that's heard a lot of, hiring, firing, how to deal with FMLA, all of that type of thing that small business owners sometimes are not as, they don't do it a lot. And so they can use some assistance with that. Providing some mental health first aid education to those business owners, because we know that the pandemic's really taken a toll on mental health, everywhere. And then also working with some of those existing businesses on finding out what they need for training. So do they have current employees that they need to send to a welding program, or do they have current employees that they need whatever training, and can Pine Tech provide that? And so that's vouchers for whatever training seems to be the missing link in those existing businesses finding the workers they need. And then the last one is that program that we did last year with the CARES Act that I think we all just are tickled pink about, is the Work Fast program. So there's 140,000 of that going into the Work Fast program. So those short little programs that are quick, and get people either into a starting position, a starting job in some of those categories, or get them into kind of the whole program at Pine Tech of those. So that is a portion of that, and it's exciting to see that continue after hearing about all of the success stories that came out of that last fall. Any
Kelly?
follow-up questions on that? Yeah.
Sure, if I could just add, I know since the June 15th meeting, we have been having some thoughts and some preliminary discussions with the college on adding a correction officer program to the Work Fast program, because we know we have difficulty retaining and recruiting correction officers, and that's a region-wide and statewide issue. And then also talking about the possibility of getting a law enforcement focused scholarship program, so that we can encourage our area youth to go into law enforcement. And so those are a couple of programs that we're still working kind of, I want to say the details, but we haven't even gotten to the detail stage yet. But the high level, can we use ARPA funding for those, and what would those programs look like?
That's exciting.
All right, moving on to kind of the other potential list of things that we've talked about. The Economic Development Committee talked kind of at length about these things. I think the county board heard about them at that June 15th meeting, but they're just kind of things that are in the works, of course. So we've got our direct costs. So public health has costs that aren't covered by current grants they have, and so we want to make sure to recoup those dollars. Obviously Leslie's sitting there in the room, so she's part of that county direct cost for economic development. And, you know, of course, over time, I think that other things may pop up that we fit under this category. But for now, those are kind of the two big things that we're thinking under those direct costs. There's business assistance under the bullet point. So the technical support, which we already kind of talked about that through Pine Tech. There might be other types of programs that we want to look at as well in that of just assisting those businesses with, you know, whatever task that they are struggling with, whether that's a web, like an internet presence or social media or whatever it might be, and just feeling out of what's needed there. In the business assistance, we also have a commercial rehab program that Leslie's been playing with some in giving grants, which have a match requirement out to do work to the existing buildings, just to really bring up to date some of those buildings, and that way it retains our tax base. It helps them sometimes with their utility bills or brings new customers in, so it's kind of a win-win for all. And it's also, I mean, giving businesses, our local contractors work as well with working on those buildings. Very similar thing with the housing is those rehab programs we're talking about is looking at owner occupied and the rental housing. You know, I think that we refer back to Ben Winchester so often in learning about our housing shortage, but yet in the end, it's not necessarily a shortage. It's just a lack of suitable housing that's available because we've got so much deferred maintenance on our houses and things. And so hopefully these programs can start to address some of those things. Food support, of course, last year through the CARES Act, Becky had put together some amazing food distributions that went on weekly. So working through some sort of idea like that, amongst a few other things with food shelves and whatnot. Broadband, of course, is the big one. And looking at grants to existing providers or whatever we can do to get some things in the ground with broadband, since we know we need a lot of help in that area. Of course, there's always a contingency fund, just for things that come up. We want to make sure we reserve some money so that we don't spend it all right away and then have some great program come up later that we can't do because we spent the money. And then, of course, there's also always the other bullet point, because
Kelly, I
things-
lost you.
you know, we think
You
all
lost.
encompassing, but you know, as the months go by and the years go by, because we do have a long time to spend this money, we might hear of programs that other counties are doing or cities that we want to jump into, so that others also, a place to think. Back on June 15th, there was a meeting in Sandstone and also virtual with townships and cities throughout the county. Just trying to kind of coordinate, share ideas, see if there's partnerships that can be had with some of these things, because each township and city within the county is also getting a nice chunk of funds. So ideas that we had put forth that could be good partnership opportunities, of course, are broadband, which I think we've got two townships or one townships in one city that have come forward and said, yes, we want to partner with you on broadband, whatever we can do. We even have a resolution from one of those already saying, let's do this. We suggested that maybe a good partnership also could be those Pine Tech programs that's focused on, should a student come from Ogama Township, maybe part, rather than all of that money coming from Pine County, maybe some of that could come from that township that the person resides in. And same with the rehab programs, just that's something that we can get the framework set up for, but if townships or cities had interest, they could put their money out there as well to be used specifically for projects in their township or city. Other than that, that's kind of my quick 30-foot view of ARPA. Of course, we've got lots more discussion we can have on it, and to have on it, but that's kind of our quick review anyways. Questions, thoughts, discussion?
I appreciate what you've done so far, and we've kind of, our Economic Development Committee is kind of leading the charge on this thing, and with input from all of us. Can we talk about that stormwater thing now?
Absolutely.
JJ has talked to me about I think we're all aware of Sturgeon Lake having an issue with high water. Doesn't seem to want to go away on its own. So we've worked with lake associations and everybody before, and it's a hard thing to get the ball rolling, and JJ has a plan. I'll let him explain it, but maybe we can get the ball rolling for them and with a feasibility study, JJ.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the only thing, I guess I can add to that is if we get going first, I think that's going to be the momentum needed to get all these different entities to actually get rolling on this. It's been going on since the first flood, the second flood. It looks like it ties right into this American Rescue Plan money. Under that, it says money can be spent for water, sewer, and stormwater. And to me, stormwater is the cause of the problem on the lake, all the rains, the flooding. It's a study to compare this to the other lakes that have the same problems in Minnesota, and they've already did it. Sounds like a lot of the work and research has been done at those lakes in other parts of the state. And it would be up to $25,000 to get rolling on this, to see if they can actually make it work. Like, to me, it looks like it will. They have to pump it, they have to move the water somewhere to get it to another lake. They got to be, of course, careful with any kind of invasive species falls into there with your milfoil and anything else. Then to see if the filtering systems that have worked in other lakes will be the same. So I guess what I would be looking for is to have like a set amount of money. It sounds like $25,000 would be the max of the study. I would like to say up to that amount. Yes. At that point, then they can get a plan and they can try to move forward with their plan and do something. It's been going on for quite some time. It's a big impact along that lake. I don't know if anybody's actually been along there, but when you look at the shoreline between the corner where the Lake Loretto Inn used to be all the way up to like Grand Marges, if you look away from the lake, the other side is, there's still water coming right up to people's floors of their buildings or garages. It's just not going away. Yep.
Caleb had just shared with me a graph of the historical water levels, and I can share that because I think it really demonstrates the problem that is happening right now.
Oh, wow.
I don't have an issue at all, JJ, with, I'd say it's a great expenditure. I just want to make sure it's illegal. It falls within the right category.
And we believe that it does.
Okay.
And with the CARES Act, we of course find out after we spend the money, whether the auditors think that they agree with us or not. But in this case, we feel comfortable that it does. Maybe the policy issue that the board should just at least have on the table is this is not the only lake in the county that has had a high water issue. And it's probably not the only lake in the county that could find a way to qualify for American Rescue Plan funds. And so if we do this one, we probably would want to have the Economic Development Committee have that on their radar to what projects would we want to contribute to? Because I'm guessing lake associations may be approaching us with their own, I guess, projects that the ARPA funds might be a good use of.
Yeah, it also mentions for the ARP money, distribution systems to move excess water when I dug into it a little bit more. So this is exactly what they're looking at doing, is putting in some sort of pumping system and turn it on and use it when they need it.
I'm assuming these are, this feasibility study is just at the very beginning of a multi-layered event that's gonna, I mean, until you actually start moving water out of the lake. I know how those things work, but I do understand that there's a bunch of people with good intentions that want to get something going. We could be the impetus to get it going, and then they're gonna have to really take the bull by the horns. Somebody is, and run with it.
Yeah.
Is that somebody identified? I mean, is it contemplated that we would give the money to like a lake association or some entity who would actually do the study? Hire the study out?
Yeah, it would be hiring the study out. I don't have that in front of me here, but, and it's the same firm that actually did the work for the other few lakes in Minnesota that had the same situation. Other than Sturgeon Lake and maybe anyone else in your districts, have you heard of any other lakes in your districts that have experienced? So it is.
Like down south by us, we have with the rain events fluctuations, but it goes up and it comes down.
Now it's down.
Yeah.
Now people are saying they can't remember the last time it was this low.
If they can pump it and put it on farmers' fields, that would be amazing.
But
A lot of dry ones.
I'm thinking of Island Lake, I think, right?
yeah, well, that's right next to.
By Sturgeon, yeah.
We worked with the soil and water with that one to get that lowered. And there was a gentleman at that meeting, June 12th, up in Moose Lake on a Saturday I attended, that his emphasis was hurry up and do something. We have waited, I think he said 8 years from the time the talk started till it actually got done. And he said it was the best thing that ever happened that lake. It was way overdue. And you got to get going on this. That's why I think this would be, I guess, to get everybody else moving on this thing instead of just, unfortunately, you talk about it and trying to get 4 or 5 different, somebody's got to go first.
So if we go first and if we start it, is there somebody that's willing to jump in and go second?
Yeah, it sounds like between the Lake Association, they've already been dealing with everybody.
They just need.
Down everybody.
We're gonna have to get Kelly or Leslie hooked up with somebody. We don't need to do that right here.
Yeah.
So they know who they're signing a check to. I don't know, Caleb is middle of this or on the sidelines.
He sat at the
Can't
table.
smack dab in the middle.
It's Houston Engineering is the firm. And the feasibility study in the area of $25,000. All that information is out there. I could get that. Would Kelly be a good one to get it to for?
We gotta, I don't know if, do you guys gotta do some backroom work before make a motion?
I don't, if you want to make a motion to authorize up to $25,000 for a feasibility study for Sturgeon Lake for the water level, I mean, I think you can do that and then we can get the ball rolling.
We do that today, or does it have to be done at a board meeting?
We can,
Board meeting.
so do you wanna make that a motion?
Yes, I would like to make that motion.
I'd second.
And Josh seconds. Is there any discussion?
What happens if another lake does come up and they say that they have, are we going to be paying the 25?
Gonna send them to JJ. He's gonna bring it forward. I think we will send it to the Economic Development Committee.
Okay.
And,
If I may, there was a similar study done for Pokegama. I think it was in the mid-90s, where they were looked at feasibility to alleviate the fluctuation. And basically, that study did not come up with any practical solutions. So that is one potential outcome, that we have a well put together study by very qualified people that kind of points us, what is the proposition, the true proposition of a solution here? And what is the cost?
at least some engineering firm is saying that, not
Right.
Joe Blow at the coffee table.
Right.
And I think that's what people are looking for.
And maybe just to carry, I think Caleb's point to its conclusion, the study is going to say, here's the things you can do. All of them are going to have a price tag attached to them.
Right,
None of them are cheap.
right,
It'll make $25,000 look like cheap.
right. So we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thanks, JJ.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, I would like to say, I did, you know, we all end up in these almost by accident conversations. By accident at Lions the other night, I sat down right next to the mayor and a council member from the city of Rock Creek. And about the second question they asked was, what's the deal with this money we're supposed to get? And I said, well, you should have been at the meeting, but we'll sit down with you. And so I still think there's a lot of that out there. They're getting a pretty good wad of money, almost 200 grand. So they did not come up with a plan with the CARES Act money. But that reverted back to the county, so it's done here. But I think we're gonna have to take it upon ourselves to do some outreach to some of these smaller communities.
Can I add something to that, Steve? Just from the township perspective here. And Kelly did touch on it at the 15th meeting too, but there is a loss revenue calculator that's available for townships. I'm certain the cities can use it too, where it allows you to see what your loss is over 3 years, apply all that to the amount of money that you did make last year or that you did bring in, and actually get your full ARPA money. Here it is. You don't have to do all of the, this is related to COVID and whatever reason. So it's kind of a neat calculator.
I think our township went through a little exercise like that, and really the 99.9% of their revenue comes from taxes. And so they didn't have any loss of revenue, you know. And maybe other townships are in a different position.
But that, if you can show a revenue loss,
That's-
that is the cleanest way to claim the money.
That is the easiest way to get it. with no strings attached.
So I was talking to a bigger township that's gonna get a nice chunk of change. And they said, I don't even think we're gonna apply for it because we don't know what we'd spend it on. And I said, whoa, wait, you know, we've got all this stuff going on. And I mean, there's so many things you can join in.
I think number one thing that I take away from the broadband
Mhm.
Landon thing is if we could focus on getting good broadband fiber to the town hall. Think what that could do for any township if they had it, because then people could build off of that. So I think there's things they could do, and they probably know that, but it's.
I think it's kind of, they go back to the CARES. We only have this much time to spend it. What do we
Right.
spend it on? You know, we had to give it back anyway.
Yeah, they got 3 years. That's the thing. I told
It's so, it's,
guys in Rock Creek, you got 3 years. Oh, good. Oh.
yeah.
So I'm thinking that we've got this meeting, this next meeting with the cities and townships coming up on July 27th. At that meeting, we probably get a sense for which jurisdictions think they have a plan and are moving forward and those that don't. And then maybe we identify those that don't, and those are the ones we can do a little more outreach to make sure if it's just a little help they need to get the money or a little confidence they need to say, yep, these are the things you could spend it on. Or, you know, the whole, maybe the ultimate is, we really don't want anything to do with it, but if we can get the money and roll it over to the county, we do that, and then you can spend it on broadband or something.
I think before that meeting, we're going to need to send out a letter to the townships and just asking them, you know, maybe a month in advance if they can start thinking about that or soon then, because so many of them weren't here. And I know some of them have meetings that night at 7:30. And so it's going to be hard to get to that meeting and then to get back for their meeting. So, you know, if we can get some of those answers even before. You know?
And then the Economic Development Committee meets on July 19th, and so that will be another touch point. And so if you're having conversations or getting feedback, if you can pass that along to JJ or Josh or Leslie or me before the 19th, we can be sure that we've got any of those concerns on the table at that committee.
I know we're all pretty tight with the purse strings, so I don't have to probably even say this, but I will. Make sure we save some of that money, you know, put a date on it. We're gonna set $1.5 million or whatever that money. We're not gonna touch it till next July or something. And so we're not focused on something that a year from now we go, oh man, if we only had 300,000 right now, we could really do something. So, economic development update. What do you got for us?
I want to start by saying I told Leslie she could only do 2 pages of accomplishments because she's only been here 6 weeks.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping to get on 1 page, honestly, but
Should have let her take the letterhead off.
a little wordy at times, so I apologize. But I did give you guys just like, it was basically my punch list of things that I had worked on the first 6 weeks that I was here with the county. I've been busy. First and foremost, working on broadband initiatives that Dave was already working on to help finish them, alleviate some of that off of his workload. And kind of jumped right in with hosting a business assistance workshop with East Central Regional Development Commission in Pine City. We didn't have any people in person there, but we had 119 attendees across the region for the first workshop. So that was pretty cool. There's 2 more coming up, one in mid-July and one in mid-August. The July one, I believe, touches on recruitment and retention of employees, which is a really hot topic right now amongst local business owners and across the state and the nation. And then the third one, Kelly will love this, is on finances, because she had noted that a lot of these small business owners need help just understanding their own books. You know, they have somebody do it for them, but they don't know where to find the information that they need to answer some of the questions of the grant programs and loan programs that are out there to assist them through this whole pandemic. Additionally, I've been meeting with Rod Frieder with the Extension Office, as well as Dee Dee Lemire, about agritourism, which I think is a really good fit for this county. Basically what that is, I mean, it's a spectrum of things. It's pumpkin picking and pine tree cutting and farming and, you know, selling your vegetables all the way to making wine. And how do you pull people in, or at least let people know that there are these things across our community, so they come in, spend their money here, and maybe go home with a little piece of Pine County. I think it's a really neat collaboration, and we've had some good brainstorming sessions. And then the other parts I've been working on are kind of without direction, but I reached out to the Pine City Area Chamber and had a good meeting with Becky there to kind of understand her connection with businesses. I really value Chamber of Commerce's because they provide some marketing and outreach to local business owners, and they're that connection to those small business owners. So I've also reached out to the Visitors Bureau in Hinckley, as well as the Chamber of Commerce in Hinckley and Sandstone, kind of trying to get out there and figure out what they see the needs are, so that I can bring it back to some of these planning meetings, because I could sit in my office all day and research what people are doing in the state and across the nation, but I really want to know how the person on Main Street in Sandstone is doing and what they need, rather than just kind of guessing. So I'm hopeful that I'll get some feedback from those others in that industry, so we can kind of figure some stuff out. Or at least just get to know them and meet them, because I had established a good working relationship with Becky at the Pine City Area Chamber. She's my go-to if it's anything Pine City area related, good marketing tool. So hoping to kind of branch out so I can get all parts of the county. That being said, I think that that's one of our lowest hanging fruits, is getting our website kind of a little bit more tourism related. Marketing Pine County as a place to visit, stop in, spend some money, stay the weekend, whether it's at a VRBO or Airbnb cabin on a lake. There's a lot of those that are kind of hidden gems, or, you know, outside of the casino market area. Because a lot of people, I don't know, I grew up here and it was like, I'm from Pine City. Well, where's that? I'm like, have you heard of Hinckley? Oh yeah, I know the casino. Expanding on that there's more places to stay than just the Hinckley area. Not that that's bad. Each their own. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with most of the things. I did have some good discussions with each of the larger cities about what they're planning to spend their ARPA money on, and if they have any other projects that might relate to infrastructure that they might need assistance with. So I have heard from Sandstone and Hinckley and Pine City that there is some potential for partnership with the county. We're very similar to the feasibility study with Sturgeon Lake, that could we provide $50,000 to this project to get it moving forward and have 60 homes built in Hinckley? Who knows? So there's some of those potential things on the horizon that I hope to bring back to the Economic Development Committee for discussion and fleshing out before we come back here. So I don't want to talk too long, but and bore you all.
No.
I would love questions.
Has housing come to the top of any of those discussions?
Yes.
Workforce housing,
Housing.
any housing?
Any housing. I think if you build market rate housing here, it's going to fill up. Yes. So in Sandstone, the discussion was infrastructure across the freeway to an area that's been identified as some potential for housing. That's what's needed. And then it could expand. Same with Hinckley. They were planning some housing, and because of the pandemic, it stopped. They had a loss in revenue because of the sewer and water. So their investment in that project is a little riskier. Same with Pine City, looking at the Fawn Meadows expansion. All of these projects could build homes in these communities pretty quickly if the infrastructure was there. So yes, that's kind of this process is, if you build it, maybe they'll come. It's risky with housing, it always is. But yeah.
Any questions?
Good job.
Thanks, Leslie.
Can we take just a few more minutes?
Yep. Yeah.
Two things that maybe we can dig a little deeper on are housing and broadband, right? So what is our vision for housing? We have gone as a county, we have gone from about 0 to maybe 40 or 50 miles an hour. We're not quite up to freeway speed yet, but we're really on the acceleration lane. So we have given Leslie the task of housing. She's working closely with the HRA. She is serving in kind of an, I don't know, unofficial staff capacity as their staff resource for housing that's not related to the building management, right? Does that make sense? And Leslie, you're shaking your head like I
Totally
kinda
makes sense to
understand.
me.
So I think that's very positive because it's a resource the HRA has not had. And I think it's a resource that the HRA is responding positively to. I missed the last meeting, so I don't know if there was anything that transpired there that would change, my understanding of what they're doing. I think there's still a role for the county commissioners to think about what are your expectations of the HRA and what comes out the pipeline for a structure in a year or 2 years, right? So currently, we do not have an economic development authority at the county level. We do have a county level HRA. There are counties in our region like Chisago that have combined those two entities. So there's a combined EDA HRA that does all of their development work. Nancy Huffman has been to the county board in years past to even talk about the work they do. So if that is conceptually a direction that the county may want to go, that's a good conversation for commissioners to start to have. And then beyond that, I feel like there's been clear direction and support for the work Leslie's doing kind of on a day-to-day basis with the HRA and with housing.
Yep.
On broadband, we have this big thing called broadband that we have at least 3 tracks, I think, that we're working. One is unrelated to anything, right? Broadband has just been an issue that we need to make progress with. Then we have this ARPA funding that can be used for broadband. So we have an RFP out right now that one of the subsets of tasks is for that consultant to help us develop a program to spend our ARPA money, some of our ARPA money on broadband. We don't have a dollar amount. We don't have a concept of what a project would look like, but our goal is that we would have a consultant help us develop a program that would leverage other funds from private providers to expand their networks. And then the third piece is we just finished this CBR Accelerate program with Blandon. We have initiative, we have interest, we have raised our institutional knowledge and understanding of broadband. How do we keep that alive and how do we keep that moving forward? So there are 3 things kind of on separate tracks, but we need to be sure they're all aligned and going the same direction. Does that make sense? And so I just put that out on the table, maybe to see if everyone is understanding, yes, that's, and if there's any thoughts or direction on that.
When will we know about the that we put together for Stauber?
Oh,
I feel like you should.
okay. So we just heard late Friday, that we are in the House marked up bill with that Stauber project. So that, I have no idea what it means to be in the House marked up bill, other than it is really good.
It's better than not being in it.
Yeah.
So as far as I can tell, I only saw 2 Minnesota projects that I can remember. One of them was ours and one was a Goodhue County housing project.
Yeah.
I don't remember in the information that we got that it showed any other projects that were in Minnesota. So I think it's huge, but I don't know that, right? But clearly it's good news.
I don't think all of Stauber's requests made that because there was a lot on his page when we
Yeah.
submitted. So, hey.
Really?
Yeah, well, we know one of our projects fell off and we know 2 of the band's projects fell off because they had a sewer project and I thought they had a housing project. Maybe they only had one other. But so it's super news at this point.
And that's reliant now on the House and Senate getting together on a bill that's,
I had a big sausage.
they're grinding away on.
Have we heard anything from Tina Smith and Amy Klobuchar on what we haven't?
I'm guessing that the House bill is the one that's done first. So the Senate bill is probably not marked up yet.
I would suggest that maybe I was thinking we were gonna know something about that bill sooner than later, but it could be a long time.
I think it's an end of the year at the earliest.
But I would suggest maybe, I haven't talked to Terry about this, but maybe in a month or so, sometime in August, that we get the Pine County CBR group together. So we don't lose that connection we had, Gussie was part of it, and say, okay, we do have some definite projects we're working on. And by then, we will probably have some kind of an idea where we might spend some of our resources, and maybe then we can commingle some of those funds with some townships or cities to extend their projects or whatever. But I would like to keep that. I think from a functional standpoint, the day-to-day operations of that whole broadband thing is gonna fall to the Economic Development Committee, because there's gonna be things that come up that need to get sent right out. But I think the focus of that group that met needs to stay involved. So we keep some synergy going.
Well, they're out in the community.
Yeah,
I mean, we were so blessed. We had 20 people,
Yeah.
some of them had, they were hoping we would get 8. We had 20 people that jumped on.
had 20 at one time, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think more than a dozen were there for just about every meeting, so. We did good.
We also have our community development block grants, the 2 of them, A Place for You, rehab, and our broadband one. Both of them seem, Leslie has had conversations with Deed. Both of them seem like they are moving, I want to say maybe ahead of the pack, that some projects seem like they clearly have been dropped as they continue to seek information on ours. So we feel positive. We don't know that, I guess maybe the deadline, or we may know something mid-August-ish.
We were supposed to know by now.
Yeah.
And now it's been pushed to mid to late July because they're waiting to get some guidance from HUD before they make their final decision. And guidance from HUD takes 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm skeptical that we'll hear by the end of July, but that might be right in time for an August meeting that we might know if we're funded.
And there, for however you want to read these tea leaves, there appears to be fewer questions on the A Place for You application than the broadband application. So we feel good about A Place for You based on our positive outlook on the process. So very
Be
exciting.
positive on both.
So just so everybody on the board is up to speed, we have Midco, who is doing 2 little builds in the Pine City, Rock Creek area. They're gonna build if you've ever been to Rock Creek and you know where their city hall is in the old downtown, there are 2 or 3 housing developments within a mile of City Hall, and they are gonna build fiber to the home to those housing developments. And then if you go north of the Snake River Dam on the east side of Cross Lake, Midco goes all the way around Pekegama and 3/4 of the way around Cross Lake, and they're gonna fill in that place on the northeast corner of the lake. Total, they're gonna pass about 1,000 homes. Or no, 500 homes. And the SCI project, Hinckley, is gonna hit almost 500 homes. So if those projects come to fruition, and we're pretty sure the Midco one will, that, we're making progress. We can't expect we're gonna pass 16,000 homes in a
Well, Midco, that's pretty much a go, isn't it? Because they got the RDOF money to do that.
No, this is their own money.
This is their own, okay.
This is their own money. And then in 2026 or 2024, they're gonna do some more in Rock Creek because they got RDOF money for that. I think it's good when they have, their ROI apparently worked out finally for them to build to concentration of homes. So,
I'm really excited about the Cy-Cable one, you know, because that's
Yeah.
at places that aren't so condensed.
right,
I'm going out to the Wisconsin border and into the trips to people that, you know, the houses are further apart where, you know, Midco is just kind of boom, boom, you know, they're hitting the housing.
they're hitting the low hanging fruit.
Yeah,
At least they're hitting it.
yeah. So, but I just really want to pat Cy-Cable on the back because they're really stepping out. And that's a big thanks to the Mille Lacs Band.
Where we, I don't have the right terminology except to say it sucks here
Yes, it is.
and east and west of here.
Hmm.
But unless you're right in that corridor,
What did they say, a mile outside of the freeway?
well,
Is
there's,
that kind of what was guessed?
yeah, for the most part.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we got a lot of territory and quite a few people that got really zippo.
I watched, Landon, I'm part of the communications team, and I watched the videos that were done, and to hear people say, you know, I had no Wi-Fi. And I watched the Knavic one, and they would have to go sit at restaurants, or was that Willow River? Go sit at restaurants so that they could do their homework, or the college students that could do nothing and all their things were getting turned in late, or where people work that have good Wi-Fi, how much more they get paid versus people that don't have good Wi-Fi. I mean, it's really, we need to help our people that live here.
So
That's like what I've been saying about the Wi-Fi. We're right at the point where we need to make a commitment to, we're almost there. I think most people are there, but it's not quite to the point where electricity, telephones back then is Wi-Fi is right now, or broadband, I guess, you know? So, but we still, it's funny, I talked to some people in pretty high places that would have a lot of influence that think it's a waste of money still, you know, to put cable in the ground. And it's like, so we gotta get them all kind of convinced that,
right,
you know, hopefully, like me and Kelly and Leslie, if we get our Starlink someday. I don't know, they just took our money and run, but that's something, my house is being built right now, so I'm living in my parents' basement. Never thought I'd say that again. Yeah, nothing there. I just put a cell phone booster in so we could at least, so the kids could watch some Netflix or something, you know, because we're not, I don't know, it's not good, so.
You know, what's hard is it's the people that have really good Wi-Fi that are saying, we're fine.
Yeah.
You know, but there's so many people that have no service. We're not fine. We're just not. And so when you think of it as a whole instead of a individualized thing, which is why I'm so excited about, you know, Cy-Cable, because they're going out to where people are, you know, nobody would go there, you know, and they're willing to do that. I'm really excited about that project.
so I think with all this chat, what it's to the staff members, keep focused on how we can get this thing together, because 5 million, if 5 million, it only took 5 million to build out Pine County, we would have done it a long time ago. If we used half of our Recovery Act money, we might get a really good study that says this is what we can do, and get another half a mile outside every little community, you know? So I think we have to be realistic about how much we can do with 3 or 4 million, but
Well,
do
yeah, but we
the
can
best we can.
learn a lesson from this morning, right? Mark doesn't make a 1 or 2 year highway plan. He makes a 10 or 20 year highway. Plan.
Yeah, and that's where we need to go. We we need to put a 10-year plan together or something.
And the older I get, the more luxury I have of looking back and just commenting on the past. But 10 years ago, it's first, just to point out Midco. So all of that work that Midco is doing, that is fiber to the home, 5 gig symmetrical service, which is mind blowing, right? So 10 years ago, I was working on a fiber project where we were offering 100 meg and 1 gig service. And there were people who are asking to buy less than 100 meg. Can't we buy less than, can you give us a smaller connection? And now 10 years later, I have 200 meg at my cabin and 100 meg at my house. And when all of us are doing our stuff, I wish I had 200 at home. And so as I guess perspective is perspective, but moving forward, I don't think 10 years from now, anyone will say, gosh darn, I wish you would have put in a smaller connection.
Right.
And on the other hand, if 10 years ago, we would have started in the south end, the north end, I don't care if we started in Windermere Township or Rock Creek Township, and we did 2 townships a year, we'd have 20 of them done.
Only 13 to go.
I mean, so you have to start someplace. You can't just.
Yep.
Anyway. We're gonna move on and to our discussion on the Second Amendment right after we take a 3-minute break.
To the corner now. Feel too dead in the center here. Doesn't turn.
Yeah, so my house would be.
There's my home broadband grant.
You know, Hinkley does their HRA, their EDA.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so they might be good ones.
On the north side.
Sandstone is looking for development.
It was just a project Kathy dug out that said,
For housing?
looked into the feasibility of running it, something that runs under the over to the other side. Something needs.
Sewer and water.
Yes, something needs to be done to make it accessible to more properties.
I was at Superior Shooter Supply
Yeah.
That's right, I was.
last week.
It's like, it's.
They don't even have bullets.
But.
You're on that area, by the way. There was.
I got plenty of bullets. I just was there killing time and
But if we.
yeah, they've always got the stuff.
I think they're using theirs development south
Son-in-law shoots a 31 mag pistol.
east side, so.
Right.
You know, they-
Those little things.
I told them to trade that damn thing off for something that you get bullets for, but you can't find them.
For a quick.
You couldn't, even in good times, you couldn't find them, but they always had them. And I hunt with a 257 Roberts and, they always, you can go to Cabela's, Gander, wherever, they won't have them. They always, that lady up there says, we always keep 2 boxes here, Always.
Really good, actually. I got it. 9 millimeter.
They're not gonna have.
I got it.
They put up this tower.
If you have it,
And,
people, because I'm happy to.
I got it.
Like, what's the solution? Let me know.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what they would look for is maybe some, and I think they could be encouraged to
That's insane.
tribute.
Crazy, isn't it?
Matching type stuff. So
Everybody is.
And I check all the. Oh my God.
They're giving like.
Yeah. I never would have believed that
Brand and the providers. Right, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They
right,
can-
right.
any other,
That makes sense.
Like a lot.
up that Banning Junction,
So I don't have.
yeah, 3 boxes of shotgun shells.
I'm the ones that say they don't. I mean.
2 12-gauge boxes, 1 410 box,
That's, I knew you were gonna say 410, yep.
32 $32 for a box of 410.
You talk about that.
I go, God, I'm glad I don't want any of them.
He's going out of business.
Fifth largest township
Yeah.
in.
Remember his dad used to own it.
So
Really keep everything running, that, you know?
I,
I stopped, last week. You were talking when we were outside once. Yeah, it's to we were really to the negative.
I always said,
I'm okay.
they're always slowing down. I was this couple guys.
Yeah.
They just.
So they just.
So, yeah.
It's like it is something that I could say that.
I think that somebody buy it.
Your point is. Hours traffic, there is a lot of traffic out there, so. There's.
yeah, I wouldn't want that business.
No, I wouldn't either. Yeah. You know, like. Yeah.
There was a nice little gun shop in Rock Creek, for a few years, and
Dark area.
I know the guy, I bought a couple guns from him. He said insurance got so expensive, he just said the hell with
Oh,
it.
yeah. That's the big thing, you know. And I don't blame him, you know, and of course.
He sold a lot of guns too, he did a lot of online sales, you know.
Oh, I was always gonna go see him.
Yeah,
But I'm like now with us out there.
The, you know, the air. And, I knew he had them down there. I thought, geez, I should. Comes up, you know.
yeah,
And, I know he's done that.
yeah.
But, I went up.
Big old tape camera at the end of it. Wait as they drive.
They got a place.
What place did you?
EOA, they've got an indoor range. Oh, beautiful.
Bill.
Got the touch on.
Oh, really?
Staff. And,
Right.
it's, guy's name is.
Pass on.
Stuff like that. Agreed to some stuff.
Gotta get used to sitting in meetings again. Hard, you can't just turn the camera off and go talk to somebody.
Well,
Gotta plan travel.
Yeah, travel.
you're a gun freak like me.
You ever stop at that Puglisi's
Being able to do the
Duluth?
again or?
It's
Okay, good.
Like our July
West Duluth,
in Pine City.
Okay.
pretty tough looking part of town. And he sells high end, a lot of Parker doubles and
Oh, really?
oh my God.
Oh, you walk out of money. So-
He put a gun in my hand and I go, I know it was worth a lot of, I don't know if I want to touch it. He goes, I said, what's that worth? He goes, we've turned down 300 grand.
Oh, geez.
I go, I ain't touching it.
Would have had a heart attack. Oh, my God.
But he said, my grandfather built his collection around that. And,
That's good, because they can make.
they got molds of Parker doubles, you know, engraving on them is just amazing. You gotta go in his back room, he doesn't have them out front, but.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're out back there. I gotta go in there sometime. I heard that. Oh, but please. Yeah, that's out in West.
Yep,
I did it.
yeah. He's got just a little shop with about 40, 50 guns in it, you know? And then, I don't know, I ended up buying a gun there. Not a,
Yeah, and you know, yeah.
that I was asking him, but
The gun for you.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, he said, want to see some nice guns? My wife was with.
Oh, boy.
She's not a gun person, but she likes the art on them.
Oh, sure.
You know,
My gosh, the engraving on those guns.
and it's like, then it's that recognition that, okay, my commissioner.
First time I had in trouble.
And if we talk all about
Well, it looks like an old bar.
It's all right. But that's on the side, so they got it for you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it, yeah,
Ever gets.
A little bit more than
Yep. Oh, Nevada. I've been to Virginia City, Montana.
Have you ever gone to the LFL?
I drive a little bit.
No.
All kinds of.
Come down and.
Okay, we're gonna move back into session here. So we have, a few months ago, we passed a resolution and, Terry wanted to talk about it some more, so the floor is yours, Terry.
Sweet. Well, so since we had that meeting and what I sent to the commissioners and what's available over here is the resolution that I had found online for a Second Amendment sanctuary county. And I was in a bad area and I kept getting cut out, but what you have in front of you is the resolution that I was trying to read from. And so since we put it off, I talked to Kanabec County and I got a copy of theirs. And I like what they did. They call it a dedicated county. It's not a sanctuary county. So when you talk to people and they hear you say sanctuary, they start to get scared, like you're going to let all these criminals move here and they're going to be able to break the law and they can do whatever they want. And it's sanctuary, so there's no justice, which is not accurate. I do like the dedicated county. We are dedicated to the Second Amendment and we're dedicated to stand behind the Second Amendment. And so these resolutions, what they did, theirs is exactly the one that I had found online prior to that April meeting. But what they have two of their paragraphs, which are just switched back and forth. So they say, otherwise they say exactly the same thing, except they're calling it a dedicated county instead of a sanctuary county. The other thing I gave you was I had received some letters just saying thank you, for what you've done for standing up for the Second Amendment, because that's a lot of people. And I know you had gotten one also. I know Becky is online and I had gotten an email from Becky and concerns with being in services and her people going to homes. She had some really good concerns. I don't know if she's planning on sharing those today or not, but that's where I was at. And with this resolution, it talks about court cases. We know that the federal government is constantly changing how they feel or what, where they're at with guns and wanting to put more gun laws on. So this goes through a lot of those and then just says that we will stand behind. I've gone from sanctuary because I think that word, if you look it up, sanctuary is a place for refuge or safety where committed is devoted, unwavering, loyal, true, and steadfast. So, that's the difference between those two words. So. Mm-hmm.
So what's different what we did in my mind, they reaffirmed I liken it to what we do at church when we reaffirm our faith.
Mm-hmm.
We reaffirmed our oath of office to uphold the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my simple little mind, that's good enough because it doesn't just cover the Second Amendment. Are we gonna then have to make a resolution to dedicate ourselves to the 14th Amendment and the 6th Amendment? I mean, I'm not trying to be a smart aleck. I'm just trying to say, at what point do we say we uphold the Constitution?
Mm-hmm. I think, we had how many signatures on a petition where they were saying that they want us to stand up for the Second Amendment. Does anybody know how many signatures were on that petition?
Was a bunch. Are you talking about the petitions that went through Pine County?
Yes.
There was a ton of them, and I'm telling you, out of the Victory and at the Ace Hardware, this little old sandstone itself, that's only one little community. I'd go in there probably every other day, and there was a stack of already signed, and they put down another stack of blanks. They probably, I would guess, probably a couple thousand signatures.
I wouldn't dispute that at all.
No,
but it's one thing to sign your name to a thing. And I think anybody that knows me knows I'm dedicated to the Constitution and to this country.
Mhm.
And so what would be accomplished?
And, you know, when we became commissioners, we did swear the oath that we would support the Constitution of the United States. You know, that was part of what we did.
Exactly. So what I get confused about is that it seems like we're saying we're gonna have our own set of rules in Pine County. Is that what you're saying?
No, no. You know, this is saying, did you read it at all?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so, I don't like the sanctuary, but it goes through and it talks about different court cases. And we're concerned about any passage of any bills containing the language which could be interpreted as infringing on the rights of the citizens of Pine County to keep and bear arms. And that we express in deep commitment to the rights of all citizens to be able to keep and bear arms. And that we express the opposition to any law that would unconstitutionally restrict the rights of the citizens to keep and bear arms. I think that that's where it's coming from, is there's so many things coming down from other governments that people are afraid that these rights are going to be taken away, which is why I believe that we had a lot of signatures on the petition.
There's where I get lost.
Okay,
Because, but what if the federal government says they're gonna only allow 5-round clips? And I say, no, I want a 20-round clip.
Mhm.
And somebody turns me in.
Mhm.
And so then are we telling Jeff, they call up, some ATF guy, agent calls up, say, hey, Steve's got a 20-round clip, we gotta go arrest him. You coming with, Jeff? And Jeff goes, no, I ain't coming with. Or is he coming with?
Mhm. You know, and I don't know.
That's where I scratch my head, because at some point, somebody's gonna pull out a gun and something's gonna happen, and there'll be a FBI agent laying there with a bullet hole in him. And then what?
And I know that there's different states that are passing resolutions that say that the federal government can't come in here and tell us what we can do. And that's statewide, you know, or that's through the state, the whole state is doing that. This is just saying that, and it also goes into say that let's see. We express its intent that public funds of the county not be used to restrict the Second Amendment rights of the citizens and said federal agents or state agents in the restriction of said rights. So that's kind of where that would come in play, I would assume.
Can I ask a question? So by that language, are you intending that you would direct staff to do something different than they currently do?
No, I don't believe so. I believe that it stands and it says that, you know, if I commit a crime in Pine County, I better be ready to pay the consequences. You know, yeah, absolutely not. But you know, and I think when I looked at this one, it's saying that it's a resolution and we're supporting the Constitution, which is basically what we were saying right here. But I think this one just goes a little bit deeper. That's just what I wanted to talk about. I thought that maybe we needed to go a little bit deeper.
And Steve, you were on the original committee, you and Matt, and that's why we kind of pushed this off. So hopefully Matt would be on here. And I think they did circle a lot of them with staff and some of the concerns I think were that, you know, does it muddy up the water for Jeff or for Becky or for anybody to, okay, well, now we have this here, so I can commit a crime and you can't do nothing because of that, and or child protection and stuff like that. And I think that's where we came to was a really nice compromise. My biggest fear with anything is, you know, does it, if what I would like to see is if the federal or state government came to the county and said, hey, guys, you guys make the policy for your county and go for it. And at that point, that's when we would draft some sort of policy regarding whether or not we want to be more restrictive or less restrictive than the state or federal government. To me, it gets really, really, what is it? 2/3 of our budget are state and federal funded. And not saying they have the total grip on you, but what happens if the federal government says, you know, if you guys are gonna do this, we're gonna pull your federal funding? Can they do that? I don't even know if they can. And do I worry about that? I do and I don't. It just, what would the taxpayers of Pine County say if, because, you know, if all of a sudden another $15 million had to go on the local levy because we signed something, you know, and I think we made a really good effort to make the citizens know that we are concerned about it. And it is on all of our radars. I don't think, I mean, we've joked about this before. Typically, the only thing we ever talk about is what your kids or grandkids are doing, or the new gun you bought, or something like that, when we're not talking, when we're just joking. So you have a real pro Second Amendment, county board. I just get a little worried when, and I like the fact, I didn't realize that it was gonna pull the sanctuary city out, or sanctuary part out, the dedicated. I just get, there's just a lot of stuff that, I think like Reese and other department heads would, you know, want to look at again. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents, I guess.
I think part of it is, if I can, yeah, we're public officials. We took an oath. You step it up to a higher level of government, and then the highest level of government, the federal level, they took an oath. They're looking at things differently and trying to redefine, you know, what the original intent of it was. And I guess that's the message they're putting out. And are they looking for opposition? Are they looking for compliance? Are they looking for people to say, you know, whatever, come for my 20-shot clip, my 30-shot clip? Well, then what next? You know? This just sends a message back, saying that this is truly how we feel. And we're not the only ones, correct? Canadic, obviously, there's
quite a few.
Yeah, there's been states, right, have taken a position.
And the one that I pulled was the lesser. I mean, it wasn't, some of them are really like, whoa, I wouldn't want to go there, you know, because they were just nasty. This one was simple and mellow. And I was really surprised because this is the one that I had when we were at the board meeting. It was after that I contacted Kanabec and found that they had the same exact one, except they changed it to dedicated, which I liked.
Yes, that's the first thing that I seen. Just that one word jumped out. It was the same thing. Sanctuary and dedicated is two total different things. Dedicated, I think, is a lot better than the word sanctuary.
Yeah, sanctuary gets scary. It does. It scares a lot of people. But
Yeah. They'll let you say, she had 23 seconds, so you got 25.
I take 5 seconds now.
Yeah,
We got about, I don't know, how many thousand residents?
29,600.
Okay, over half.
Or
of them out there
31,000.
Signed that petition. Okay, there's petitions floating all over this county. Petition I signed, and they're all mimeographed on whatever, they're all the same, says, we the people, Pine County, want the county to declare us as a sanctuary. Sanctuary is one word that can't be changed. It means one thing. You are protected regardless of anything that goes on. I signed it, with thousands of other people that signed it. I'm almost positive of that. I've seen them go through. The word sanctuary is different. You say the word dedicated. Why would somebody take something as strong as our liberty, our freedom, our rights as American citizens, as veterans? Why would they take something like that and weaken it with a word that can be twisted We've got so many people in government, all levels of government, that want to twist and do whatever they can against this kind of thing. Personally, I just think it doesn't hold any power whatsoever about the word sanctuary. I'm firm on that. You know, got a lot of veterans in this town, in this county, right? Go in that little office over there, and I'll tell you what, you can learn a whole lot. Why do you think those guys are veterans? Girls, ladies, why do you think they're veterans? Why do you think they went and served their country? Anybody got any answers? I can tell you why. I had my dad sign for me. I was 17, so I go to Vietnam. I'm proud of that. You know why I wanted to go at 17, why I wanted to go to Vietnam? I'll tell you why. Because I was taught as a young man growing up that we've got the freedoms no other country's got. We have our liberty, our love of God, our love of school, our love of our country, our community. That's why every veteran goes in to save that freedom for us. That's all I got to say. Steve?
No, thank you. Sheriff, I guess?
Yeah.
The thing that, what caught me with that word is probably because the way the word's been used so long in the media now. San Francisco.
So,
San Francisco. And I was watching One America News again this morning and last night. And there was a situation where there was an illegal again caught for the umpteenth time. And they keep using that word sanctuary. And yeah, words matter. That's where I picked up on it. And when I see sanctuary, that's the only thing that was resonating in my mind was those sanctuary cities that are established now in those certain parts of our country. That was the word that got me. No, I didn't look it up in Webster's. I didn't look it up on but I compared it directly. I compared it directly to that city, and that's where I just had that. You're spot on with our veterans. I have utmost respect for everything that you guys have done.
Once the word sanctuary is used, it can't be changed.
Okay.
See, the thing that gives sanctuary a bad name is all these communities, San Francisco, all out in, I mean, it's California. They got people that took over Los Angeles, they took over the whole town because it's a sanctuary city for illegal alien. What's going on?
Well, we're gonna get back to the thing at hand, and I think that's why there's a lot of things we do legislatively, I guess. I don't know. I've never been a legislator that maybe aren't exactly what the things that we woke up in the morning thinking we wanted to do. But the resolution that we passed a few months ago was a result of many redrafts and a compromise of really what are we getting at? What's the core thing that we're getting at? We have sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States. So I can't, in my mind, that's where I'm at. And so I have a hard time going beyond that and putting more words because we have a whole Constitution, not just the Second Amendment. I know many of us are passionate about the Second Amendment, but that's not the only amendment. And so we should be having the same discussion, I understand, about our freedom of speech and our right to vote, and the list could go on and on. But I think what we passed was a result of not just somebody getting up one morning and writing something down, and that was it. It took several redrafts by the county attorney, by Matt, by me, by David, by looking at all of the other resolutions people had passed in the state of Minnesota at the time and saying, what really are they getting at here? What are they getting at? And so that's the conclusion I came to. That's why I supported what we did. That's why I still support what we did. And one other thing, I've jokingly said, Doug Carlson used to tell me this, well, I got both sides really pissed off. So we must be spot on our policy. And this thing, absolutely, it was probably almost equal of the people that we shouldn't have done anything and went too far. So I thought, well, like maybe we've shot right down the middle on this thing.
I would second that because obviously I'm in a fairly, people can get at me pretty easy. I've always said that if they want to talk about something, I don't hide because they're gonna find me somewhere and doing something. So equally, I've got pile of people that were mad because we did anything, pile of people that were mad because we didn't do enough, and a pile of people that were extremely happy with what we did. And I was really struggling with it because I didn't know if it was right, wrong, or anything in between. And that's when Steve had said that. He said, if you pissed off everybody, you probably did the right thing. Because the unfortunate part is, in our position, we can't, however, we got to look at the global position of the county as a whole. And we made a lot of decisions as a county. I've made a lot of decisions as a county board member that have hurt me, my business, my family, because it was the best thing for the county, or we thought it was the best thing for the county. So, and that's something I take pride in. I don't do it for myself. We got a lot of staff and a lot of people that live here that we work for. So, and I appreciate everything that everybody has brought up. It's important. So.
Can I say something? Sanctuary?
Let's see. You've got like 30 seconds then.
Keep it short.
Better, you got big points.
I understand, they're probably 90% of us. I had the great fortune to be able to ask about Constitution a few years ago. And the thing that I tried to impress on the kids is that the 10 amendments, which began as 12, the original Bill of Rights, were put in place to keep the government from getting too big for its britches. And the right to carry a gun has absolutely zero to do with whether you're hunting. It is your right as a US citizen to have a gun, to bear an arm. It's nothing to do, and this the word sanctuary, I go back to my Catholic upbringing. Sanctuary, the back of the church, is the safe place. Okay, and the Bill of Rights is our safe place. Okay, that's all. 30.
Thank you. You did good.
Did you ask me the last 15 seconds?
He gave me a tootsie. I got more time, that's why.
I suppose I'm only getting 1 second now.
Yeah. I don't know where we're gonna go here. It appears to, we got a divided house, which isn't all bad, but,
But I had asked for more discussion and I got that.
And
I appreciate you bringing it up. I mean, I told you that before, Terry, that this is a board that functions because we can talk about things, we can bring things up. And in the end of the day, what we decide can't muddy the water for the next 100 issues that come before us. Because we got a lot of them. And we've got some major things we gotta decide. I feel so confident that this board since I've been on this board, no matter who's been on this board, has been, first of all, everybody's been a big gun owner. And so that's not the question. It's not the question at all. And everybody I've served on this board with has been a big lover of this country. And so that's not the issue. It's some antics of words that some of us get hung up on and how we want to portray our county or our workers. We have workers to protect. And so anyway, yeah, Josh.
And this is, obviously, we got more discussion, good discussion. And that's not to say something happens nationwide, statewide, that doesn't mean we won't change our position, and do something more. I mean, we have a lot of stuff in front of us, a lot of information, a lot of work that's been done that, we're close to, I look at it, we have something on the books now that does show our position, how we stand, and proud of that. And we got a lot of work done and can continue to do work on this. And maybe what I would even ask is, you've already had some conversation with some of the staff, and maybe more, maybe they can convince you one way or the other way or whatever, and just kind of keep that rolling. I mean, I don't think anytime you brought something back to the board about this, any of us would say, well, you don't want to talk about it, or, so I don't know. I'm not in a position today to do anything more. But, not saying that ain't possible in the future. So, and I appreciate what you've done. I really do. So.
Thank you, folks, for coming. I appreciate where you're coming from. Is there anything else we need to talk about today?
That's it.
Keep your old minds turning. I know this crew enough that you don't ever let them go idle, but I think this is a rare opportunity that many county boards for 100 years ahead of us never had an opportunity to spend money. It's all taxpayer money. We know that. We're not fooling anybody. But we got money, an influx of money coming to Pine County. We got to be the best stewards of it that we can to try to make the biggest bang that we can for our county residents. And I think we're on the right track, and we got great leadership here to help us. So we'll be leaning on you, Leslie and David, Kelly and Becky and everybody. So
can I bring up something real quick? Debbie and I were talking about the townships and their ARPA money and the fact, I think because of the CARES Act money, they had to spend it so fast and it was just crazy, and they ended up just giving it back. And so the one that I talked about, it's a big township, and they were talking about not even bothering with it. Debbie had talked to a township too. One of the things that we talked about is before that meeting on July 27th, if people could make phone call. And I think the easiest way to probably do that would be if each county commissioner called their townships, cities, and said, hey, we're willing to help you and to help you figure things out. If you can be at that meeting, it would be a bonus for you and for us. I mean, it would be a win-win. But if we can take the time to reach out to our townships and cities and ask.
how easy that is for me.
It's a coffee shop, right?
I was gonna say,
I got one.
I don't have that many.
I got one township and my son's a town chair, whatever.
You got cities, and cities were invited and they weren't there. I don't think Pine City was there. there. So, and you've got, so I mean, we do need to have representation there so
Yes,
know that we can help them.
yes, I,
think that was a big conversation is they don't realize that there's help available to help them with this. So if you want to grab some other, I'm sure Matt could use some help right now.
yeah. And keep Matt and Deb in your prayers. It's a tough road she's going down. And,
It's going to be
that's Matt.
because
Matt called me when she first was diagnosed and that's my job.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be my number one job, so, I expect that, so. Thank you, everybody.
Nice to be back in person.
I would reach out to them.
You know, I love the call-in meetings, but I do like the.
Oh, okay.
I was just thinking.
I can't put into that.
Just thinking,
Planning a lot.
I just don't want this to become another.
Oh, God.